Hello,
Hello,
my
my
friends.
friends.
Welcome to
Welcome to
another
another
episode
episode
of
of
Deep
Deep
True
True
Crime.
Crime.
I'm
I'm
Manny
Manny
Rodriguez. In
Rodriguez. In
today's
today's
episode, I want
episode,
to
I want to
continue
continue
the
the
coverage
coverage
of the
of the
death
death
of
of
Moscow
Moscow
Mule
Mule
victim
victim
Eric
Eric
Richins.
Richins.
He
He
was
was
pronounced
pronounced
dead in
dead
the
in the
hospital
hospital
after he
after
was
he was
rushed to the
rushed to the
hospital
hospital
because his
because his
wife
wife
said
said
he
he
was
was
cold to the
cold to the
touch
touch
when she
when
got in
she got
bed
in
with
bed
him.
with him.
And so I
And so I
covered
covered
this
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 morning, but
morning,
we
but
have
we have
learned
learned
a
a
little
little
bit
bit
more.
more.
This is a
This is a
breaking
breaking
case.
case.
What
What
happens when you
happens
have a
when you have a
breaking case?
breaking
You have
case? You have
news
news
continuing
continuing
to come
to come
out,
out,
right?
right?
And
And
so I
so
want to
I want to
share with
share with
you
you
what it
what it
is
is
that
that
we
we
know.
know.
And I
And
hope
I
there's
hope
not
there's
an
not an
echo.
echo.
Excellent. So, Eric Richins. Rest in peace to Mr. Eric Richins, taken from this world way too soon. As I shared with you this morning, the Mormon mother accused of poisoning her husband with a fentanyl-laced Moscow Mule texted a drug dealer friend asking for the Michael Jackson stuff, where she paid $900 for. That was according to her arrest warrant that I shared with you this morning. As I shared, she is accused of murdering her husband, Eric, last March in 2022. And police say that she gave him a Moscow Mule that was laced with a lethal dosage of fentanyl after trying to make herself the sole beneficiary of his life insurance policy. In the year since her husband's death, she had written a children's bereavement book titled Are You With Me, which she even promoted on a television show. Now, Eric, he comes from a prominent Mormon family in Kamas, Utah, was so convinced that his wife was trying to kill him that he told his friends, if anything happens to me, it's her. Look at her. Her is Kouri Richins, where she said that in this home, in the middle of the night, she goes back to bed at 3 in the morning and he is cold to the touch. This here is Kouri Richins, the wife of Eric Richins. Beautiful family, three wonderful little boys, but that would all change because of what looks to be a very selfish monetary reason that she decided to do the unthinkable. That is what police are saying that she did. And allegedly, he was even looking into a divorce. That's according to the search warrant that led to Kouri's arrest just 2 days ago, May 8th of 2023. Kouri, she's a Mormon as well. She's a mom of three. She is, she's like not responded to any of the allegations leading up to this. But her attorney also declined to comment when he was reached for comment. And according to the search warrant, Kouri texted a friend asking for the Michael Jackson stuff. But more has come out. You see, Michael Jackson, he was killed in 2009 by a cocktail of prescription drugs like Oxycontin and Demerol. Now, Kouri, in her text to the drug dealer, claimed the drugs were for a real estate investor who had a back injury. Initially, she asked for hydrocodone, a prescription pain medication, which the dealer left for her in a house that she was flipping at that time. She owned this home for a few months. Then she said the investor wanted something stronger. She asked for some of the Michael Jackson stuff and paid $900 for 30 pills and specifically asking for fentanyl. 3 days later, on Valentine's Day, she and her husband had a meal at home, after which Eric becomes very ill. He told friends that he believed that she had been poisoning him, but he wanted to survive. And so he survived at that moment, but it wouldn't be till much later, not too much later, Kouri, she would go back to the dealer and bought another $900 worth of pills. That's according to the arrest warrant. She uses them to allegedly murder her husband on March 4th of 2022. Shortly after 3 a.m., she calls 911 to report her husband was unresponsive to the touch. And so we find out that he is actually worth more to his wife dead than he was alive. This is according to terms of a prenup that was signed on the day of their wedding. That's according to the documents. Now, Kouri, as I share, she wrote this book on coping with grief. She says that she wrote this book for her 3 children. And in this book, she even shows a picture of a kind of a drawing of him with wings looking down, to help the kids deal with grief. Now, she writes this book. She is later charged on multiple counts related to his murder at their home near Park City, Utah in March of 2022. Now, police believe that she gave him a lethal dose of fentanyl disguised in a Moscow Mule drink. Now, a Moscow Mule drink, I've never had one, but it's a vodka-based cocktail. I don't know. I know what vodka is, but I don't know if it comes with just water. I don't know. I don't know that particular part of that. I probably should have looked it up a little more. So my apologies on that part. But they've been married for a while. And so now court documents, they show that there was a twisted legal battle between Kouri. She launches against her husband's family within weeks of his death in a bid to secure an estate valued in excess of $3.6 million. Again, shortly after he dies, she goes into a legal battle with his family because he kept her out of it. She did some scammy stuff. He kept her out of it because he knew she's doing something. But here's the kicker. She didn't quite know that, yeah, you might have done wrong and put your name on it and changed it, but he would change it back and leave her out of it. But that's the thing. She didn't know. You see, in this prenup, it is said that, hey, if this happens in a matter of death, you'll get this much. And so he got so much money when his first wife passed away. Eric, he was divorced from his first wife, Julie Jorgensen, whom he married in 2005. Now, this is a dispute between, this lawsuit comes from the early days, but she went to go after this money that he gets. And so in a lawsuit that was disputing her late husband's will, this is not Kouri. Again, this is his first wife, Julie. Okay? But we're talking about Kouri for a second. That's going to lead to Miss Julie. And so in a lawsuit that was done by Kouri, not only claimed that the money is rightfully hers, but she also accuses Eric of trying to defraud her by taking legal action to shield his property and business from her without her knowledge. Kouri, she makes these allegations in a claim against the living trust that Eric drew up without informing her in November of 2020. She finds out about this later. According to the police warrant at that time, Richins, he had expressed the fear that his wife might kill him for the money. And so, unknown to Kouri, he transfers the family home, all personal property, and his interests. He transfers all of it. And he transfers it into his business partner and close friend, Kouri Wright. And he transfers it into the trust, which he then placed in the sole control of the older of his 2 sisters, Kouri Richins Benson. He had fears that Kouri was doing something and was gonna do. How hateful could this girl B that he was scared for his life. But as far as Kouri was aware, his estate was to be divided according to the terms of the couple's prenuptial agreement, which Eric's late mother, Linda, presented to her on the very day of their wedding. The document was signed along with the wedding certificate on June 15th, 2013. You see, and under these terms, on Eric's death, pretty much everything would pass seamlessly to Kouri. And that's what she believed. That's what she thought. She thought this is what was happening. But that's why she files this lawsuit against the family. And so this claim is hereby made against the estate of Eric Richins because they were going after it. They're like, this is what we thought. And so the basis of this, she brings this out. She's like, I deserve this money. But there was a lot involved. She really didn't. She's the reason he's not here. So the decision to have a prenup in the first place was inspired by the experience of Eric's 2009 divorce from his wife, Julie Jorgensen. As I shared, this is Julie. He marries Julie in 2005, right? Julie, rest in peace, Julie, she dies when she's 26 years old in a car crash that was basically all on fire. It was a fiery car crash. And so she did not live through that incident. And so she was rear-ended by a pickup truck that barreled into a 70 mile per hour into her at 70 mile per hour as she was waiting at a red light. That's according to a report in the Salt Lake Tribune. The driver of this truck that barrels into her going 70 miles per hour, he was sentenced to prison. It was that bad. He had been smoking weed. He couldn't see through the frost that was covering his whole windshield, going 70 miles an hour. So he would later be sentenced to prison. And that was in the death of, that's what happened to his first wife. Again, he already divorced her. She would later die. So Eric's family, they're trying to protect him and prevent a repeat of the difficulties that he went through in that first divorce to Julie Jorgensen. That's according to court filings. And so they're protecting their loved ones, right? They're looking out for him. And so they kind of basically talk him into signing a prenup with his new wife. Hey, don't go through this again. Sign that prenup. Don't do this. And so, but unbeknownst to her, she had no clue about what had transpired after she did the fraudulent activity. And so on June 14th, this is where they're separating everything, right? 2013, this is a summary of all the assets and debts of the husband, which the values are estimated. The intention is to give a fair, reasonable, and adequate disclosure of the assets of the husband. This is everything he has, and so they do a prenup that places the value of Eric's interest in his business as approximately $2.5 million at that time. That is a figure that in which Kouri's filing state was easily exceeded by the time of his death. It's up to like over $3.6 million. And according to the prenup, Eric and Kouri, they agreed that neither had any right to the present or future income or assets of the other, including but not limited to the business known as C&E Stone Masonry LLC, which is owned in partnership between husband and a third party, which I believe is Kouri. The husband has 50% interest in this C&E Stone Masonry. And so that's his part in it. That's the value of it, 2.5 million at that time, which the business looks to be even bigger now. And so that was his share. Similarly, the couple agreed that the company would remain the sole property of the husband, except if he should predecease his wife while they were legally married. She does the unthinkable so that he can try, so that he can be, they're legally married and he be deceased. So that is what the cops are saying. That's what the affidavit, the law, all of this is pointing to. This is why she did it. So even though law enforcement, they didn't quite give a motive, but now we pretty much know the motive. This is like, it's grown so much. You can see the value of Eric's interest at that time. According to Eric's wishes, in the event of his death, that share, 50% of the successful business, was to be bought out by his partner using the payout from a life insurance policy, for which Wright was the named beneficiary, Kouri Wright, the other owner. So that's why it's like she didn't know. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm at a loss of words in some cases where it's like, you thought that you actually had this smooth sailing going in your name, and then when he dies, you probably try to say, yeah, this is what he said we were due. Something along those lines. I'm speculating. That's part of going live. Speculations. This is my thoughts. Now, Kouri, she attempted to change the terms of that policy in January of 2022 and have herself, rather than her husband's partner, named beneficiary. Now, when the insurance company informed the business partners, Kouri and the now deceased Eric, about this change, they switched it back to the original terms. They were able to do that. See, Kouri filed her claim against her late husband's sister and his estate on March 28th last year, less than 2 weeks after his older sister, who was the main person behind the whole thing to control it, the sister, Richins Benson, opened a probate action to execute her brother's will. But that's when the battle lines were now drawn out between Kouri and the Richins family within 48 hours of Eric's death. Wow. She writes this book, Are You With Me? She writes this book sometime between this time. It's supposed to be a book to help her kids, only to find out that he is an amazing husband. He is a wonderful father, but you're allegedly looking to be a terrible wife. Now, she files her claims literally not long after, and according to Kouri, on March 5th, the evening after he was found dead, several individuals, including Eric's sister, spent the night at their family home. The next morning, on March 6th, Kouri asked the sister to leave to give her time and space to grieve the passing of her husband. Kouri states that despite her request, the sister refused to leave and began threatening and verbally accosting Kouri. After Kouri insisted that the sister leave. That is what she was insisting. She was blown away that she wouldn't leave. That's what she is sharing. Now, let me see. I want to share this with you. 1 second. Because I guess I didn't grab the right side. But I mentioned this a couple times. The angel in the sky. She depicted that as Eric Richins. I have to say, this whole thing is a great gesture of what she did to help her kids cope with it. But the fact that she was the mastermind behind his death is what makes this so chilling and confusing at the same time. Now, That I wanted to share that because I mentioned that a few times. But she writes the book, Are You With Me? And so she's saying that the sister refuses to leave and began threatening and verbally accosting her. That's what Kouri is insisting. And it's like she wouldn't leave the family home, blah, blah, blah. Now, Kouri claims that she and her late husband purchased this property in Kamaz, which is a 20-minute drive from Park City, Utah. They purchased it together and that both contributed to the down payment and mortgage payments. She also maintains that Eric had no right to transfer her share of the property into that trust and that he did so with actual intent to hinder, delay, or defraud her and her claim to an interest in the same. That's part of what she did with her lawsuit to get her hands on that estate. As well as suing for the estate she claims is rightfully hers, Kouri has asked for compensation of at least $300,000 for what she describes as the unjust enrichment of the trustees. That's her lawsuit against the family of her husband. She, so it's like she was going after these dollars right after. For her part, Eric's sister, Katie, vehemently disputes almost every aspect of her former sister-in-law's claims. Now, in filings, she asserts that Kouri did not purchase or in any way contribute to the purchase of that home. That she says, hey, we both have money in this. She herself countersued Kouri and asked the court to dismiss her claim and take nothing but instead pay the trust's attorney fees and costs. And so they have a legal battle going against each other. Now, according to charging documents, police allege that Kouri bought the drugs from a friend between February 11th and February 26th. This is a time frame across which she spent $1,800 on street-grade fentanyl. That's all to put into his system. And just 3 days after her first alleged purchase of this drug, after a Valentine's Day dinner with his wife, he becomes violently ill and tells a friend he believed his wife may have poisoned him. Rest in peace. Rest in peace to Eric. Taken from this world way too soon. He saw the red flags, but it doesn't look like there was much that he can do about it. And then, did she fix him a drink? And then he goes to bed, doesn't wake up? Or was there something more sinister because she lied about the phone? And I'm not going to rehash everything because I shared that in the first story. I'm giving you the updates around the new story. But at the end of the day, this young man was taken from this world way too soon. 3 young boys are without their dad. A wonderful dad, remind you. Taken from this world way too soon. My friends, if you are a person of prayer, pray for the family that they find peace and understanding. There is no understanding. The person closest to him that should have been caring for him, loving him as he was loving her, is alleged to have done the unthinkable. Leave a comment below on what you think. Do you think that she is guilty? Do you think that the media's wrong? Do you think, or should I say the affidavit's wrong? She's not guilty? Because my friends, it don't look good for her. They're talking to the drug dealer. He's spitting what it is that he knows on his end. So it does not look good for her. The fact that she fought and tried to get a lawsuit, or did get a lawsuit going against the family so that she could get a piece of this estate, does not speak well. It actually speaks of ill intentions. Rest in peace, Eric Richins, taken from this world way too soon. Till next time, my friends, be safe, be careful, be alert, pay attention to red flags. Eric did see some red flags. He told people around him, which also helps get this conviction. He was already talking about the red flags. He was already planting the seed that if something happens, I know where to look, and I want you to look there right away. Rest in peace to this man. We'll talk to you soon. Be safe. Be careful. Be alert. Talk to you later. Peace. Have a great one. Have a great one if I can get this going.